we're talking about it. We're talking about what it takes to run a household well. Father, daughter.
Daughter.
What what were those conversations growing up in a Christian household, right? What were those conversations around modesty like?
Not fun. I was actually thinking about this morning, that there were a lot more conversations that I knew would come if I didn't, like, obviously we had certain conversations about tight clothing, or swimsuits was a huge one at one point. But I remember, okay, I don't even know if this was you or if this was Mama, but one time I was at a friend's pool party. And
why are you doing this with your fist?
Because we're about to go to war. but we were doing chicken fights. And for you guys that don't know what chicken fights are, it's when you're literally on each other's shoulders, right? And you're trying to pull the other person off. But I had no issue with wrapping my legs around a guy's head, sitting on his shoulders, and battling another girl for whatever it is, you know? That's an issue, right?
Yes, it is.
And the thing is, we did this in youth group, in retreats. Like, none of our pastors were saying anything. We're just having fun. And so I, under the impression that this is just a fun games thing, I'm going to continue going along with all of this. Mind you, both of the guys that I was doing this with, I knew they had liked me at the time too. And so there's all of this going on that I was completely unaware to the issue of this. And I remember when I showed the video, that's how comfortable I was. I was showing this video to my parents. And one of you guys, maybe it wasn't you, but one of you guys said, "Sydney, what are you doing? You can't be doing that, right?" And I was so upset. I was like, "You're being so dramatic." So I was always saying you were being dramatic. You don't understand. This is normal. That's the issue. It's normal, right? And even more conversations regarding I remember tight clothes, tight jeans at one point, and how you wouldn't be okay with me wearing a certain outfit, but then if I brought it up to other family members even, they would be like, "Oh, you look good. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to my own father about what I'm wearing, because because you look good. It's not even that big of a deal." But the thing is, it is a big deal. We just have gotten so used to it. So more about what those conversations looked like. It was annoying, and I didn't like it. And I would always try to find my ways to push the boundaries. I don't think I ever went too far. I don't think I could. But I did try. And every time I was kind of hit with this wall of, like, they just don't understand. They just want me to look ugly. Nobody likes me because I don't have any style. And that wasn't true, right? But as a teenager, that's all I'm thinking about. And so it really only, my perspective on all this has really only changed recently. Maybe even in the last couple years, where I can recognize that a lot of what I have done and how I would dress is based on me just wanting to be accepted, me just wanting to be liked by people, but liked in a very visual way. Like, I want people to see me, and that's why I used to wear, like, the onboarding of makeup, you know? All of that is just, it was based on my own insecurity. And I said this before too, that I actually would have tried to push the boundary of even wearing crop tops more as a kid if I had been more confident in my body. Which meant that it was a heart issue, right? It's not even about the clothing. It's about, why is your heart leaning towards a certain way? And just even following the conversation of what was this like more is I would normalize it depending on the spaces I was in. Like, we see this all the time in certain, if you're at the gym, it's okay to wear certain clothing because you're at the gym. If you're at the beach, it's okay to wear certain clothing because you're at the beach. But you would never wear some of these clothings just walking down the street. You would never wear it to church. You wouldn't wear it to church. So maybe that's a sign that we need to start doing more counterculture shifts than we realize, and stop normalizing it even within our family, even within our church, in our lives, and all that with God.
Yeah, for the record, if you're a pastor and that's what you allow, then you're not a pastor because you're not protecting the flock. But yeah, I mean, my wife and I, Artelina and I, we did resist the short shorts.
Right. I forgot about that one.
Things that were revealing. And yes, sometimes she'd be, Cindy would be shopping with somebody and they would send us photos. Or how about this? And how about that? And that looks too tight. And that's this. And I mean, skinny jeans. I mean, think about it. So yeah, it was hard, but it's also because we grew up like the rest of America.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't wake up born again and saved, right? The analogy would be like the frog in the cooking pot, where you put a frog in a pot with cold water, it's going to swim happily, and then you start turning on the heat until by the time that frog knows that it's being cooked, it's too late, right? And that's what happened with this whole thing about immodesty and the way people dress. It's like you live in it, you grow up in it. It's like it's normal. I'm French. I mean, look at what they wear at the beach. And so you have to do a big paradigm shift. You have to go through some reprogramming, as it relates to stuff like that. But, I would definitely start the conversation earlier. But I would also explain why. Like, I wish I would actually read that book 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because then I would have a little bit more to stand on against the norm, against culture, even against what the church is saying, and made it easier even for Sydney growing up so that she wouldn't be as, wanting to, to challenge every opportunity.
Yeah.
For example, what you wear when you go to church is one thing, like you said, but then you've got other events. You got other Christian events.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got, sleepovers. God forbid, like don't have any guys and girls in a sleepover, right? That would be dumb. But I don't think he ever had that. I think it was always girls, right? And thank God.
Well, those retreats with church camps.
That's right.
Man, the amount of stories I've heard actually of that is really messed up.
Yeah. So, Proverbs 22:6 says, train up a child in the way he should go. And when he is old, he will not depart from it. I mean, it's like smartphones. The longer you wait before you give a smartphone to a child, the better it is. Because as soon as they have it, all kinds of evil is going to come out of it. And I mean, I would change two things that would happen within our own home. If Sini had sleepovers, I would tell her, make sure you tell your friends to bring long pajamas. Don't come in with your short shorts in my house in sleepwear. No, you don't do that, right? So this is now our house, our rules, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've changed a lot of things. It kind of reminds me of a story. I'll end your question with this. And it's New Year's Eve. And we have New Year's Eve parties. And Sini's wondering, which one is this?
I don't know what story he's about to say.
You'll remember it. And so, as we normally do, when we have New Year's Eve parties, we have our Christian friends. We do invite neighbors. And then sometimes people invite their close friends or maybe their sons and daughters.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happened essentially is somebody invited their daughter and she came and she wore, a nice tight leather-like top. It exposed stuff. And at the time, everybody, like all the guys were downstairs. So it's my wife who brought them into the house. But when she comes in, it's obviously warmer. And so she unzips this top. And you have to know, Artelina, you guys know my wife, right? And you know your mother. And she just takes her hands and she grabs her jacket and she closes. She says, oh, no, we can't have that here.
Amen.
And she told me afterwards, she says, I'm so glad all the guys were downstairs because when she unzipped that, she says, that's all you could see. And so, so it's basically now our house,
right?
Our rules.
Yeah.
And we're gonna deal with it if it shows up, right?
Yeah.
But I think this should also be an encouragement to other parents even who are dealing with this too, that there is a way that you can go about this that isn't gonna kill your kid.
That's right.
like even really the main issue, especially growing up, is that it is you just want to fit in. That's everybody. They just want to fit in, whether that's when you're at the beach hanging out with people, when you're at like at your friends' birthday parties or whatever it is, you just want to fit in. And so the more earlier we can have conversations and even opening up the floor to have deep conversations with your kids early on will allow an easier place of even intimacy between parent and children where they can trust you. Like even for me, even though I did not like what my parents were saying, I trusted them enough to end up submitting in the long run, right? And so even building up that trust to recognize that you can have these conversations and it can bear fruit. You might encounter some resistance, but that's normal. We're growing up, you know?
Yeah.
And it's discipline. Train up a child in the way he should go. And so it's part of bringing this discipline into the household. I mean, if you're going to be an elder based on the scriptures we read earlier, you can't lead your kids, allow them to go into rebellion, because you will turn them into unbelievers if you do so.